Hello again. Welcome back to the Glue Guys YouTube video extravaganza. It's Brian. Uploading another episode. This one, me and Mike, we go through a trade deadline scary tier list. It's a Mike thing. We had fun, ultimately. It's a Mike thing. But it was fun. Learned a lot, Spencer Dinwiddie situation. Lots about that. Lots about Oladipo. Lots about your boy Vucevic. So smash the follow, smush the like, subscribe. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Glue Guys. This is Mike, your sailor Brian.
Hello.
Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys, nets-daily.com. Our mailbag is netspot@gmail.com. Go on iTunes, rate and subscribe us, and go to The Athletic, theathletic.com/glueguys to get the latest offer to get behind that paywall. Brian, the Nets are back.
We've been neglecting our mailbag, and that happens from time to time, and I always hate it. It's like, when you've got that email from your aunt that's been sitting there for 3 weeks, and that it's something you need to respond, and it's out of love. It's not like because you don't love your aunt. It's just now it's gone on too long, and it piles up in the guilt, and and then suddenly you're up at 6, 5 in the morning, heck, 4 in the morning, and you can't sleep, and all of a sudden. Anyways, Mike, what do we?
The worst feeling is, so for this is personal. Okay. If my grandma emails me and I don't immediately email back, I feel terrible. Yeah. And the thing is, when I do email her back, she immediately responds after that. So she's indicated that she's been waiting for the reply. And often I don't reply for many, many months.
Bad grandson.
What are you going to do? Anyways, who's a bad grandson? Sean Marks. Because he didn't make any deals.
What is he doing?
For the Brooklyn Nets.
The
Nets didn't do anything.
Kicking his feet up on the desk. Just, what is he doing? He's probably drinking a Foster's.
A Modelo.
Yeah.
A Modelo is He's apparently a fan of Modelo's. That's what he seems to always give out to Nets fans. No.
Do Kiwis do the Fosters, or is that beef? Would they not do that?
Yeah, I feel like, so in my head, New Zealand is like right up against Australia.
Right.
But in reality, right, isn't it thousands of miles? Isn't there some massive amount of distance between?
Yes. Spiritual distance. Anyway,
spiritual distance.
What did they do? Let's get into it.
Anyway, so the Nets didn't do anything. The Nets were rumored for many days, in fact, weeks.
Not by me.
They were going to take Spencer Dinwiddie's contract, which could be an expiring. Everyone expects Spencer to opt out at the end of the season and to flip it for a player that could be useful right now and into the rest of the season. We don't know what Spencer Dinwiddie's health is, but the Nets did nothing. They didn't change a single thing from their team, which has been changed a lot over the year. But let's start with this, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, before we even get to the emotional, I think we should save the emotional part about Spencer Dinwiddie to the end of the episode.
I'm not going to be able to. It'll pour
Bottle
out.
It up. Bottle it up.
Oh, okay. I'm used to that. I know that.
Are you okay that not a single move was made? Are you upset? Are you disappointed that not a single move was made?
Well, it's not that. I guess I haven't tapped into upset or. I like how you said not emotional, and then it's just, are you upset and confused? Is what you tee me up for? So, yes. In a non-emotional way, I'm upset. No, I'm not even there yet. I'm more just kind of like thinking about what it actually says about the Spencer Dinwiddie relationship to management, and not even if he's coming back or not. I'm not even like there yet, but like what it means for the rest of that contract, because everyone does expect him to opt out, and the market for what Spencer Dinwiddie's bringing is interesting. I don't know that it's super clear, but I don't know. For me, it's like a vote of confidence in some mutual desire to make something work. Otherwise, it's just a big fat net loss. And from a managerial perspective, that's not something that Sean Marks is used to taking on the chin. He's the kind of guy that'll at least squirt out a second rounder or something. But
he is nicknamed Squirtle amongst NBA
that's true,
personnel
on
staff.
The inside. So yeah,
he's not quite a Blastoise, no. But he certainly Presti is the Blastoise.
That's right.
What's above a Blastoise? There's War Turtle? War Turtle?
This is your territory, Mike. You know this, and stop flexing on me.
Okay, I'm going to Google it to just ensure accuracy.
I'm sure
it's like a War Turtle.
I'm sure that's right.
War Turtle.
Not that I missed it. I missed Pokemon. I don't know why. I don't know how.
Oh no, I think Blastoise is above a War Turtle. I apologize to everyone. Yes.
Yikes.
So I think there's a few.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think there's a few things at play. So there's the whole I think there's the 5% chance the Nets are maybe Dinwiddie will be back for the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. You could say it's 3%, you could say it's 6%. I think it's within that percentile that he could be back maybe for the playoffs. I don't think they're banking on it, but I'm just saying there's that chance. They obviously probably didn't get the offers that they wanted to. There were a lot of guards available on expiring contracts.
Well, can I also say all of the offers that people were talking about seemed way maybe too good for. I mean, there was normal
for an injured player
for that
you're gonna have to pay a bunch of money to,
and also there's no guarantee. I mean, it could out. Yeah, anyways, so there's a bunch of not sure things surrounding that whole deal, and for Norman Powell's name to be thrown out there, and even Kendrick Nunn has not have a good year, but that's valuable pieces. At one point, he looked like a potential starting point guard. So I don't know. There was names that were being thrown around, and I was like, this cannot be right. Something's off here.
Well, even Gary Trent Jr., he's not Dinwiddie in terms of he's not a lead guard. He's more of a wing, but he got moved in the Norm Powell deal. And so that means he was available to be had. There were teams that could have had him for a certain price. So I think there's a kind of a market. I mean, I would even put Evan Fournier within the realm of if you're going to pay Dinwiddie next summer, Dinwiddie's a better ball handler, better initiator of offense than Fournier. Mm-hmm. But Fournier is a really good shooter, and he's going to be available. And there's going to be a lot of guys like Dinwiddie. And if you're another team, it's why would you give up anything again for a guy who's rehabbing a serious injury and may not play for your team ever? So I think for the Nets, it's the market probably wasn't there as much as we were led to believe. There's a small chance that Dinwiddie could come back. And I think there's the third sort of level to this where let's say Dinwiddie doesn't come back. He does opt out. He's a sign and trade candidate for another team, and the Nets can get a second round pick for him in a sign and trade scenario, or maybe even a highly, highly protected first round pick, right? The Nets technically got or could have gotten the Warriors first round pick for D'Angelo Russell in the sign and trade that sent him to the Warriors. So it's if you're Marks, you're kind of sitting there I'm sure he wasn't getting the offers that he wanted. Maybe he's playing the 5% chance that Dinwiddie's going to come back, and he knows that even in the offseason, if Dinwiddie opts out, it gives them options to say, okay, what's the price going to be on Dinwiddie to resign him? Maybe that's attractive for them. Or sign and trade. Let's flip him to whoever the team is and get a second round pick. But I began all this.
Please.
Because again, there's a little, it wasn't full anxiety. It wasn't you're on a long road trip and you're just not seeing a really good bathroom to be able to stop at. You're not sure. You have to go to the bathroom.
You're one of those types who will you can size up a bathroom from afar and know whether that's going to be for you.
But I also have no bathroom allergy in terms of I'll go to the bathroom anywhere.
Yeah, I've been blessed with that as well. It could be a pretty repulsive situation, and all.
Well, I think we went to Syracuse.
A giant Syracuse toilet
has at the Carrier Dome. If you have been to Syracuse, instead of urinals, it's just a trough for all the men.
I have a very clear childhood memory of going to a Giants game, for the first time, maybe 9 years old or something, and not being mentally or physically prepared for the mayhem, the Brigalian nightmare that was the bathroom. Just being that close to that amount of, and also at that age, you're not at the height you want to be to avoid seeing some terrible things. So it stuck with me, and that's my story.
I can see it in your eyes right now. It's still there, right at the very beginning of your memories.
Yeah,
it's the fear and the pain.
Formative, incredibly formative.
I forget. I don't know why that was brought up. Oh, little anxiety. I think there was some element from Nets fan base that I've heard of they didn't do anything. Obviously they had gotten James Harden. That's a fairly big step. Alize Johnson, which I think we should probably have an Alize Johnson conversation at some point in this pod. He looked amazing. in the terrible Jazz game. But they didn't do anything. Do you care?
We haven't even talked about the Portland Trailblazers game, which was like a incredible game.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
I mean,
should we not talk about the Jazz game?
We probably don't even. Anyways, you teed me up for something, and I went in a totally different direction. What was it?
Basically, do you care they didn't do anything? Does it damage what the Nets are trying to accomplish?
You know, it was funny. I wish I had quadrupled down on the thinking that I had at the time when we talked with you and Alex Schiffer, and you guys were all like, actually, you kind of had the right beat on this, which was that you're 40% sure, I think is the number that you came out with, that they weren't going to trade Spencer Dinwiddie, and at the time, and that turned out to be more correct than not. Am I upset? No, and I was saying that, like, you know, our rotation as it presently stands, I don't get enough of what we already have to want to add more things. I would like to see more Blake Griffin. I think he's been looking interesting. Obviously Nick Claxton's having a moment. We talk about that every week. But yeah, I mean, like it was funny because we presumably traded away all of our depth in the James Harden thing, but like I feel like, how do I get more of these weird depth players on our bench into the game? You know, not even weird. I mean, Blake Griffin's not weird. But yeah, I mean, like, he gave room for Bruce Brown to be the supernova that he's become. So yeah, in my mind, I don't know that there's a whole lot of holes to fill, which is a crazy thing to say. Like, it's funny. I was thinking about this too when you have this like elite team of superstars and everything, and I feel like every week we spend so much time talking about improving around the margins, and that's kind of what you have to do when you have like the star players of their quality. Like, I'm sure the Lakers fans they're used to this, and that's the thing that they always do, which is like, you don't really pick apart what LeBron and AD are doing, but Kuz is on your radar and big time. So, and it's actually those kind of like middle guys too that get the worst of it. The Shamits and the Kuzes. That's the parallel.
They're just in that cushy middle.
It's not cushy.
Filling.
It's not. It's not. It's not. Tyler Johnson is in the cushy fringe.
It's the 9-year-old going to the bathroom in the Meadowlands.
That's right.
That's where they are.
They're
getting pissed on, literally.
Literally just getting rained with pubic hair. Sorry. But yeah, so that's all to say, I'm not worried about that. And if I couldn't think of an extra player that I wanted to add. People were talking about like Mason Plumlee and stuff, and I was like, no, stop. I don't want it.
I don't want Mason Plumlee.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'd fall in love with him in some way again if he would join the Nets again. But so everyone was like, oh, the Nets have no depth once they traded for Harden. And now it's like, as you said, can we get Bruce Brown more minutes? Can we get Nick Claxton more minutes? This team is fairly loaded. There are things that they don't have that were just hard to get with what the Nets do have. Like the thing that when we had our pod with Alex Schiffer, I had brought up maybe a Dinwiddie to Dallas for Josh Richardson, just because I don't think Dallas is really going to compete for a championship this year. They've wanted Dinwiddie, it seemed like, for a while. It kind of fit. And the thing that the Nets do need, I would say, is just like wing defender bro, right? Like Jeff Green used to be that, but he's kind of shifted more towards 4-5. Blake, obviously, like they just don't have. KD is a wing defender, but you're not going to deploy Kevin Durant to stop, name whoever, LeBron James for the full stretch of the game. Bruce Brown is probably going to have to draw LeBron James in that situation because we're looking at the finals. That's the only thing we care about.
Bring it on.
I mean, that's what Bruce told us, right? It's like, it was like, I've stopped him every time. So I was like, wow, okay. I was like, Bruce, confidence. But here's the thing. The roster construction is not over, Brian, because there's many waves to the NBA transaction market. There's free agency, there's draft, there's the early season trades as the guys who complain about the teams that they're on, they finally get traded, like James Harden. There's the trade deadline, which was a fantastic trade deadline. We had weird trades. It was a lot of mid-tier stuff. We had the threat of like the Lowry trade sprinkled across. The looming danger. Yeah. The Jaws theme music, bum bum, of the Lowry trade was floating above us, and we never saw the shark.
Yeah. Just like in the movie, it's late in the movie where you don't see it until you.
I've only seen the sequels. I've never seen Jaws. But the buyout market is the next wave.
Wow.
and let me just throw some names out to you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we're hearing names. There's already been reporting about where these people are going to go, so it's a little less sexy. Andre Drummond, we've talked about him for months, it feels like. There's many teams that may be attached to him, and we have some fun reporting about that. Otto Porter, who got traded to Orlando Magic. He's staying for now, I think Chris Haynes reported.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of teams, Chris Haynes says, that would be very interested.
No
JJ Redick.
Not enough time spent.
Just finish the list. Let me finish the list.
Yeah.
Austin Rivers, I think he could be out there, and no one wants him. I'm just saying his name. And LaMarcus Aldridge has already been bought out, but it's believed he's going to Miami. What were you going to say?
It was complete bullshit, so I'm glad you stopped me. But it was about not enough credit being given to the name Otto. Like, it's such a rare and good name. More Ottos in the world.
What's the term when a word can be flipped upside? Be flipped?
A palindrome. That's a palindrome.
How many palindromes are there right now in the NBA? You know,
right?
Not enough.
Not nearly.
I mean, that's what everyone's been saying that for a long time.
Does LaMarcus Aldridge on the Heat? Does that give you cold chills? Does that give you pause?
It gives me slight pause because the Heat have been playing much better lately.
Sure.
And we'll talk about the Scariness rankings, and Oladipo was on them. So, but I'll include it here for a second. Victor Oladipo and LaMarcus Aldridge going to the Heat, and they've basically lost no one. That is a little scary. It's a little scary.
Sure.
But it also, I think LaMarcus Aldridge, I think he could be more productive than a Blake Griffin. Like, if you just put him on any team in the league, I think LaMarcus Aldridge is going to get more points and more rebounds in a game than Blake.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Blake better for this team just because he has a little more versatility to his game. And I think he's in a better place in his career.
He is ready for the comfortable 15 minutes a game lifestyle, whereas LaMarcus may have a hard time adapting to that.
I really don't think out of Drummond, Porter, Austin Rivers, I keep saying, I know no one cares about Austin Rivers. I do, but no one else does.
Do you?
LaMarcus Aldridge, a little bit. I like him. I've always liked him, but he doesn't really fit this team. I think Drummond's going to go to the Lakers or the Knicks. There's been a lot of fresh reporting how the Knicks are going after him. It's because of an interesting element. The Knicks have $15 million in cap space, and they can actually give LaMarcus Aldridge John Hollinger of The Athletic wrote this in his story. They can give him a prorated deal, 4-year, $64 million right now because they have that much space. So where everyone else, it's like a minimum, he could get a contract right now.
I'm trying to think if Tibbs greenlights that. I wonder if Tibbs is a Drummond guy.
I think it would be coming partly from Tibbs. I think probably in his mind, I don't think they're as in love with Mitchell Robinson as maybe Knicks fans are. And I think with Tibbs, he would think, I can grab Drummond. Maybe he doesn't care about the money. And I can turn him into like a really strong defensive force next to Julius Randle. And then we have a tough squad going into the playoffs.
There was
I would love it, though.
A really good image, I believe. I don't know where the source was, but it landed in the Glue Guys Discord. Shout out to the Discord. Join. Link is in the bio of our Twitter page at BK Glue Guys. Join that Discord. It pops off during the games.
Professional.
Anyways, there was an image that had a matrix of all the centers in the league, and it was divided by finishing rate and ability to get to the rim. So they had done some math about how often they can get themselves to point blank shooting range, and then how often they actually shoot successfully from there. And all alone on a complete satellite was Andre Drummond, who succeeds very mightily at getting to the rim and is pitiful at actually finishing.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting data point.
And I got to say, so I like Andre Drummond because he's a big dude. And again, potato sack defense. He can potato sack his way against Joel Embiid. Nick Claxton is way more interesting of a player at this point, I think.
Yeah.
And he's better for the team because the team does need Claxton's 1-5 switching. Otto Porter, out of those names, we're not going to get JJ Redick. JJ Redick was traded to Dallas. I'm kind of glad we're not getting JJ Redick. You know, Brian and I have faced a lot of competition in the Nets podcasting realm.
That's right.
Over the past year.
Slayed a few dragons. But that one, that's smog.
That's,
right there.
That's a beast that we cannot tackle. So we're glad that JJ Redick isn't becoming a Nets podcaster. But Otto Porter is... Sean Marks obviously loves Otto Porter. He was the one who gave him the big contract that Otto Porter is still currently eating off of. Sean has shown a proclivity for grabbing guys that he gave big contracts to and bringing them back. He brought Allen Crabbe in, obviously Tyler Johnson. Porter would actually help the Brooklyn Nets. He would play maybe 12 minutes a game, but he's a wing defender who shoots threes, and he would give you a lot of position versatility. And if he became available, I would actually hope that the Nets would throw like whatever, the taxpayer mid-level. Like I hope they would step up because I think he's a kind of a guy who they don't really have, and he is a really good shooter and positional versatile. So I'm interested.
I could see it.
That's the name. All right. Let's do this. Take a quick break.
Okay.
And coming back, we're going to do Scariness Ranking of the trades. And we are back. So what we're going to do now is, because this is a Nets-centric podcast and what we care about is the Brooklyn Nets, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the big deals of the NBA trade deadline and a few of the non-deals and rank them in tiers. And you'll be able to actually watch this tiering process on our YouTube page. Search. I think you would just search the Glue Guys on YouTube. Hopefully we pop up at some point.
Hopefully.
We'll tweet out a link so that you'll be able to see this. You'll actually be able to watch the tiering process, but of course you can follow along with us on the podcast as well. We are going to rank and we're going to tier the scariness level of all the deals that were made and not made. So an example would be if the 76ers had traded for Kyle Lowry, he would be in the top tier of scariness, which in this tier system, for some reason, is the S tier, is the top tier. And then it goes, the second tier is A, B, C, D, F. So, for some reason, S is number one. Don't know why.
This is one of these incredibly popular internet tier maker things. Everybody, I would say, well, I don't know. I can't speak for our audience. If Mike does kind of typify a certain portion of the audience, so I'll be generous and say at least
the intelligent person, yeah.
At least the people that aren't like terminally on the internet like I am. Yeah, so this is a big popular thing that people do, right? It's the S tier is the best, F tier is the worst. Should be, and S also, scary starts with an S, Mike. So this works.
You're lucky. You're lucky. You're getting
Mike. Mike called me up and he was pissed about this. He was like, "This, I'm furious. Make it a 1.
Make it. I'm always thinking of audience first. Audience guy. Okay, the audience is always right, and I'm thinking of the audience here. And it looks like you can edit this.
I didn't realize it was a template. I look like I can. I probably can. Anyways, too late now. We're already in.
So I'll probably be throwing an S or 1. I'll try to continually orient the audience as
S
we do this.
S is for most scary. A is for B is for boo.
C is for chilling.
Yeah.
D is for delightful.
Perfect.
And then, or E is for electric.
Yeah.
And F is for fiery.
Beautiful.
Doesn't really mean anything. Okay, let's start it off here with the first contestant I see all the way, Javale McGee.
Just peeking up here a little bit. Here he goes.
JaVale McGee was traded to the Denver Nuggets. He was rumored to maybe be a Brooklyn Net, but he was traded to the Denver Nuggets. So we care about Western Conference, and there's going to be some Western Conference things. I think the scariness is if you're afraid of ghouls, it's like the Eastern Conference. If you're afraid of what's another paranormal, fearful thing?
Like in anything, like a werewolf,
like a vampire, or werewolf, vampire, yeah. Mystical creatures.
Sure. A ghoul. I like you went ghoul.
A ghoul,
first.
a ghoul. Eastern Conference are the ghouls, and vampires are the Western Conference. So we're more afraid of ghouls because the Nets are in the Eastern Conference. JaVale doesn't do anything for me. I'm not afraid. I put him in E tier.
Yeah,
doesn't do a thing.
So here's when I was kind of like considering this because and I don't want to jump the line, but are we doing like the Nuggets post their trade activity? Should we combine that a little bit because together I think the Aaron Gordon stuff is actually kind of interesting.
Combine it, yeah.
I mean, and it should be JaVale's a little bit of a sidecar here, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, I think that's an interesting fit for the Nugs. I haven't watched too many Nuggets games, although I did talk a mountain of shit about Aaron Gordon before watching him play the Nets in that woeful Magic game, and I regretted it. And he looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets was my favorite sort of like, oh, that's a weird basketball trade that happened during the deadline, because the Nuggets is the exact team that he can go to. They have a 5 in Jokic who has a tremendous passing ability. Jokic could be anywhere on the floor because he can shoot and pass the way he does. So Aaron Gordon can operate near the rim, and then on the defensive end, Aaron Gordon can be just like, Zach Lowe has compared him to what he could be, which is Draymond Green. He could be that versatile of a defender. Obviously, he isn't Draymond. Draymond's one of the great defenders in the NBA history.
Yeah.
But he has the flexibility to do that. If I'm a Nuggets fan, I'm excited. I'm very excited with what just happened. In terms of scariness, I like where you have it. Right now you kind of have it A, B, C. I would crunch it down to the B. It's a boo.
It's a boo.
Because Aaron Gordon, if you're thinking about the Nets, he would be a guy who in a playoff matchup, he has switching flexibility and he has the ability to kind of potato sack defense's way on Kevin Durant. So
I'm going to say in a vacuum, JaVale McGee does nothing for me. I mean, he's not completely, not registering. So I have him in the maybe ED.
You're evident the erectile dysfunction area.
The erectile dysfunction
right
district.
That tier.
Right around there.
So B's a little scary. I think if we were a Western Conference focused podcast, that would be scarier.
I also, well, just not to, I mean, I don't know if I can attribute this to him just being like on the Magic for way too long on that middling team and kind of just like looking for his own shot at this point and wanting to increase his value in GTFO. That's sort of the vibe I got, because his like playmaking had been lauded, but he had some bad decisions making stuff. I was like, I wouldn't want this guy on my team. That's sort of how I saw it. So I don't know. He's big. Yeah,
I agree with you. Okay, next guy. You've Spencer Dinwiddie there.
Yeah, I kind of thought like it's fun to include him. Because in a world where he comes back, how much is that? I mean, I know it's super fringe and it's not even like super responsible to talk about, but like, does that actually move the needle?
It's like talking about AstraZeneca blood clotting cases.
That's
right.
It's
so rare.
It's right.
Very damaging to talk about. And that way. I actually have no clue. I shouldn't talk about it. But anyways, so are we saying how scary, like how we want to grapple with the Dinwiddie factor?
I'm kind of saying like from another team's perspective. It's obviously not scary at all, but like, does Dinwiddie as part of our roster like move the needle? It's funny to think. I think it's funny to think of just how much we were expecting to watch. Like, it being Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then like Karras, Spencer, and LeVert. And Jared Allen. And to have it just none of that work out and be watching a completely different team is interesting. And I wonder what it'll like. It'll be a little bit of culture shock, I bet, when Spencer comes back, if he does.
And you and I are both believers in Spencer's flexibility, his fungible tokens. He's not a non-fungible.
He's incredibly fungible.
He's a fungible guy. So if I was another team, I'd put, if he came back, we're saying, let's say he's stuck with the Nets and which he has, and he comes back, I put that B tier for other teams, because that's just another ball handler, off ball guy that could be included in like bench lineups where instead of like Tyler Johnson, you're not getting any minutes. So then the bench lineups are basically like Harden or Kyrie with Dinwiddie, Joe Harris or Shamet, Blake, and Otto Porter.
Yeah, I think it's just another like, it's just another meme of like, oh my god, they have so many guys. It just adds to that meme, which is nice. And that can be that's a scary meme sometimes for people.
Scary meme. Next up is Evan Fournier.
I go Fournier. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah. So where would you put? So the trade, I should say that he got traded to the Celtics. Fournier is on an expiring deal, so he fits right in that beautiful trade exception that they have, and they just sent out some picks. So the Celtics get a free player who is good, 20 points per game, good shooter, all that good stuff. I wanted to be so dismissive.
Yeah, I know. I have been dismissive of Fournier over the years.
I don't want to be too dismissive. I don't want to discount anything. And this is going to also factor into the Oladipo comments that I'll have later. I think it's a thing. If you look at the Celtics right now, I think they're the 8th seed. They're 2 games under 500. They just got back Marcus Smart. But they're obviously a scary 8th seed if they stick in that spot. That's not like, even though they're not having a good year and I enjoy their failure, they're scary 8th seed, and Fournier is actually a guy. Like, I think he's better than Harrison Barnes for them. That was the guy that they were talking about. Like, he's a better shooter overall as a profile, and he can score, and he's a good guard that they can kind of throw in the mix there. It's not super scary. I'm not, it's a scary movie with some comedy in it. Scream.
It's a little scream. I am actually, so this again goes back into the, like, is it itself in a vacuum that scary? No, but like to your point, like the Celtics as an 8th seed with a little bit more firepower is just not, it's really not the team I want to play. And I think this moves them a little bit. I think it definitely moves the needle. I don't know why that they continue to want scoring wings. Everybody that I listen to in Celtics land continues to talk about, like, they want more scoring wings. I mean, like, their whole offense is built around two guys who are like mini Carmelo Anthonys in the way that they are scoring wings. Like, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but like Jaylen Brown and Tatum just take turns doing, like, just grinding for 9-foot turnarounds. Like, that's their offense. And I mean, it's not that Fournier is that, but he's not far from that. And from what I've seen, like, he's a little bit more of a, cutter and shooter, and like he can do a little bit more off the ball stuff, but he kind of operates in the mid range as a scoring wing. So anyways, it's just, somebody explain that to me. I don't know. Am I crazy for thinking that, like, that's the main mechanism of their offense at this point? And if I were them, I would be looking to maybe supplement. I don't know. I feel like they've got diminishing returns with the Kemba situation. I mean, having like a water bug point guard doesn't seem like something that they need if Kemba comes back and does their thing.
What a lame, by the way, just. That is one of the terms we use for an athlete that if he was small and quick. Yeah. Like, who popularized water bug? Because I've never had a conversation about water bugs ever in my life besides a quick athlete.
Yeah,
it's
illustrative. I mean, honestly, when I first heard it, I was like, I get it. I get the popularity.
Yeah.
Sure. You know how they dance on the top of the water. You've seen the type, like.
Constant those water bugs.
So, anyways, I don't think it solves as many problems for them. I think it just continues to make them, a tough out, but ultimately an out. So, I don't know. I'm going kind of A-ish. I'm leaning more A than B.
Yeah, I think it's a good. I mean, they didn't give up anything for him. Now, I think they made other moves, and Daniel Tice isn't on here, but they gave away Daniel Tice for nothing for Mo Wagner. Who Nets fans used to dream about Mo Wagner.
Doesn't everyone hate him in Washington? Do they hate him?
Yeah. So I think Daniel Tice was good for them, and I'm happy that he's off the Celtics. Fournier is a little scary. Like, again, if they're the 8th seed, they're the 7th seed, whatever. That's a tough first round matchup. You'd rather play the Hawks, Pacers, Knicks, even though the Knicks one would be an emotionally charged series, but. It is scary. I think it's scary. I think you're right. It's right there. Next guy up, old Georgie Hill. Georgie Hill has been from team to team to team, has been the sort of the standard in baseball. There's the Mendoza line, which is the 200 batting average, which not that it's considered average, but it's like, that's the baseline of whatever. George Hill's the baseline point guard. And even though he's a good 3-point shooter, he is the standard point guard. He went to the 76ers in a deal. It's almost like the opposite of scary. It's heartening. It's a warm, comfy feeling. It's watching a Nancy Meyers movie, if you will, if we're going to continue making as good as it gets. I don't know. Is that Nancy Meyers? I can't remember. I don't know. Them getting George Hill made me happy.
Yeah.
Because that meant that Kyle Lowry wasn't going to the 76ers. So I'm going to put him all the way at the F tier.
Oh, wow.
As a statement that Kyle, and we'll talk about Kyle Lowry, you might as well bring him up.
Yeah, let's bring him up.
Kyle Lowry, the fact that Kyle Lowry isn't on the 76ers leaves me bullied about the Nets. Bullied. Because he would have been a difference maker in that series. He is exactly what the 76ers need. And him not being on that team is a big win.
How did it not happen? I mean, ultimately, like, what exactly was the hang up here? They should have done that so fast, so hard.
There's some, I have to look up the reporting on it, like, exactly. From what I remember, like, the asking price was 2 first-round picks Thibault, and Therese Maxey, which is that's substantial for a guy who's 35 and on his way out and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot to give up for an older guard.
Yeah.
And I get it from their perspective, but as a Nets podcaster, you have to be happy.
You gotta love it. Gotta love splitting that talent up on two teams. Gotta love it.
Do you think George Hill has any real impact for Los 76ers?
I know that there are George Hill guys out there in the sports media.
If I may, some people would die on that hill for George Hill.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
I have not seen that. You're hiding your face in shame. I have not seen that. I mean, I'm sure there's good reason for it. He's never played sort of in our proxy before, so I haven't spent a whole lot of time watching George Hill stuff. It doesn't move the needle for me based on what I know about this veteran combo guard. That doesn't do it for me. That doesn't put any fear. So yeah, I mean, basically, I think we dodged a bullet. If I could, put a bow on it.
Bullet dodged. Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers. Los Angeles Lakers were rumored to be the team to maybe get Kyle Lowry as well. There was one report, I forget who it was from, that basically the Lakers were offering Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Dennis Schroeder, maybe like a second-round pick or something, and then the Raptors came back and asked for Talon Horton-Tucker, young big guy. Or not big guy, he's just kind of like chunky, which I like. I support. We support beefiness
thick,
on the
please.
show. Thick, please. Yeah, 2 C's. Lakers not making a move. Obviously, it's an F. It's exciting. They may still pick up Andre Drummond. That doesn't bother me as a Nets observer. That if they got Drummond, that wouldn't scare me. It would help them, I'm sure, but it wouldn't scare me. I am very happy. That's an F that they didn't get any additional talent.
I agree. Easy.
Lou, sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou.
So Hawks were an interesting team.
Yeah.
They were rumored to maybe trade John Collins, Bogdanovich. Rondo's the guy that they traded, someone who was not good at basketball for them this year. Rondo continues to have an amazing legacy of
I actually kind of feel like
very good at moments and then being horrible.
I feel like we should have added Rondo to this list just because, like, weirdly, I think he could just come right back and play meaningful minutes for the Clippers just because that's the thing he could do. Yeah.
We should have I guess we should have had a picture for him too because
blew it.
I mean, playoff Rondo or engaged Rondo is a factor.
Mm-hmm.
What a great legacy to have.
Yeah. Weirdly, it feels like Lou Williams has played in Atlanta before.
I mean, I know he's from Orlando or from Atlanta. Obviously, the famous Magic City chicken wing incident during the bubble.
Yes, he's been associated with the city for a long time. So it just feels right. I just want to say that, I mean, it doesn't make me necessarily that scared because he's had a very bad season. And I think it's begun. The decline has begun maybe for Lou. Although maybe the change of scenery will, do him some good. But his numbers from the season have fallen off pretty significantly. And Clippers fans are over the Lou Williams playoff experience from what I'm hearing. So overall, as far as like a spooky 8th seed, I don't think that moves the needle a ton.
I will say, so the Hawks right now are tied with the Knicks and the Heat for 5, 6, and 7 seeds, which is a very strange grouping of teams at the moment. At some point, they're going to get Bogdanovich back. I think being past the trade deadline will alleviate some of the John Collins worries. John Collins, I think, came out today and said basically, like, I want to be here forever. I want to be a Hawk forever. This is the team that I was with. They've won 8 straight or something, or they had won 8 straight under Nate McMillan, and then they've lost 2 in a row recently. They are a team on the rise. Lou Williams is better for them than Rajon Rondo. I'm going to go D. I mean, it's a piece. I'm not scared, but I think it's D level tier. If we're saying the C tier is sort of average, I'm not saying it's even average. I'm just saying it's a little.
Yeah. That's
It's
fine.
a little juice.
I'm with that. I think
little dread.
I'm interested
little
to see how and if and how the Hawks can consolidate some of these players, because they have a lot of good parts. It hasn't amounted to much more than the eighth seed. I don't know that this really moves the needle again. But they have a lot of good guys and a lot of good contracts, so I don't know. Seems like they could do some stuff.
We have 2 more guys left. Probably the biggest names that were moved for the Eastern Conference teams. Nikola Vucevic, Vooch, a very fun trade. Orlando Magic sending Vooch and Al-Farouq Amino out and getting Otto Porter, Wendell Carter, and picks. This is I'm just going to say A tier for me. Only this reason.
Wow, I did not expect this.
Vooch has always killed the Nets. Always.
Yeah.
He is a type of center who will always kill the Nets and has always killed the Nets. I mean, he's been killing most teams in the NBA. The Bulls are the type of team that the Nets could see in the first round.
Oh my God, you're.
I'm just saying it's a little scary if Thad Young, he fits with Thad Young, he fits with Zach LaVine. There's pieces that they have now that's a little scary, not like overly scary, but a little scary.
I actually kind of weirdly have liked Al-Farouq Amino for years. I've quietly enjoyed him and thought, at least from an ESPN fantasy perspective, he's been a fringe guy for years. Rare fringe.
My friends call me Al-Farouq Amore. That's how much I've liked him. Wow. You get it? It's like love or something.
I get it. And it was great. That's a weird one.
This is why, by the way, everyone should be watching YouTube, because you get to see Brian's facial reactions to this terrible things they say.
And finally, the big one, the big kahuna, Mike.
Victor Oladipo
is washing ashore here. What do we got?
Victor Oladipo goes to the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I should have had LaMarcus Aldridge, because based on everything we're hearing, it seems like that's going to be the thing. So, anyways, but let's try to in a vacuum it. Sorry, I always do this.
No. I think anti-vacuum.
Okay.
Anti-vacuum. Free fall.
Unsuck.
We're gonna put in.
It's a leaf blower.
Oladipo, Aldridge, and I think Dragic is getting healthier, and the Heat are playing better. We're gonna put them all, mush them into a beautiful ball. So here's my thing about Oladipo. The Rockets trading James Harden, where they could have had Karis LeVert, and yet they redirected Karis LeVert to Indiana so that they could have Victor Oladipo. Mm-hmm. And then they trade Victor Oladipo for Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk in a pick swap. That's horrible. I think everyone understands, and the Rockets are the team that everyone's bashing on Twitter. My thing is this, real quick, is there's a reason why Victor Oladipo only got what he got.
Ooh. Thanks.
Okay? There's a reason. If he was good, if he was as good as he used to be, many more teams would have been in on that action. There were a lot of 2 guards that got moved hands, that changed teams in this trade deadline. Victor Oladipo was one of them. If he was better, the Rockets would have gotten more. The Rockets aren't that dumb that they couldn't find a better deal. They couldn't find a better deal for Victor Oladipo. So that was it. That's indicative of maybe how good Mr. Oladipo is.
Yeah, I'm hearing that argument. Again, I will say that of the systems and general operations that could resurrect a Victor Oladipo and inject some NOS, is that what they're using when you put that in your sleeper car? That might be the group to do it.
Sure.
Jimmy Butler has a special way of motivating people that maybe Victor will be receptive to. So yeah, again, I having watched a little bit of him this season and just seen his numbers, it's not it doesn't paint a rosy picture, but I think it's an interesting reclamation project and one with a very high ceiling possibly. So it does register on the spooky meter. And especially if we can combine that with LaMarcus Aldridge. To one extra little thing here, Bob Windrum, friend of the pod, operates the Nets Daily multi-channel network, had a good tweet that referenced his own reporting about how seemingly the pattern is teams that value young players versus picks in these types of trades almost always fare much better long term. So this is the Houston Rockets here are fallen into an interesting spot because, you know, they could have had a pretty nice, you know, crew of young Nets players on this team, and I think they passed on that and prioritized the picks.
Well, I think they prioritized money. They didn't want to. The reason why Oladipo is leaving is they know they don't want to pay him.
Yeah.
The reason why they didn't want Jared Allen is because they would have to pay him this offseason, and they didn't want to do so. They just paid Christian Wood. They don't want to pay Jared Allen, even though it's like, just grab Jared Allen. He's going to be great. You have two of those guys, and you can trade one of them down the road. They didn't want LeVert, even though he's on a great contract, because he has money on his deal. Like, the Rock, I mean, that's the thing. Like, everyone's making fun of Raphael Stone, the Houston Rockets GM. I just think they're operating from a place the GM is where he's like, he knows his owner doesn't want to take on extended money. The Rockets could have made deals for that.
Yeah.
But
okay, fair. I'll hear that.
Scariness though. This is where, even though I kind of crapped on Victor Oladipo and was like, no one wants him. Ooh, that's fun. Yeah. I'll say him plus Aldridge plus healthier Goran Dragic plus Heat playing better. That's an A.
I'm going borderline AS. I've kind of thought I'm worried. Like, the Heat have a second act in them for sure. It's begun. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm kind of lumping him in with just like referencing the Heat in general.
Sure.
And I think that they're tooling up. You know, it's now they've maybe had the post bubble blues, but it feels like that's changing.
Yeah, and so my whole thing with the reclamation, like, I don't, like, obviously he's put up some numbs, but his efficiency is horrible. I don't know if you have enough time to reclaim that wood this quickly, right? Like, reclaimed.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. I don't think you have enough time to, like, get him in there, fix his body, and to get him back on track. I think for next season, it's scary if he re-signs and they can really fully, you know, get him into that Heat culture. They just added a bunch of talent. They basically gave up Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk, and we'll get back Oladipo and LaMarcus Aldridge. They'll fit exactly into those roles, and they are better players. So I think it's scary. It's something. It's something to be afraid of. So you put it between SA. I'll leave it there. I
just think the Heat are. I mean, in general, like, I mean, looking at this whole landscape here, and let's take Spencer out because that's sort of like us. I mean, we did pretty well here. None of this registered as S. You know, nobody's totally consolidated to the point where they're like really stacking up and gonna like kind of fire some ballistic missiles at the Nets' chances here. So all in all, sure. I think it was a great trade deadline for Nets-centric purposes. You know, generally.
Yeah, and I'm the person who put Vucevic in tier A, which is the second tier. If you understand the system, it's the second tier,
which nobody could possibly understand the complexities of this system.
Yeah, and I probably overrated Vooch.
I think you did. Looking at this,
so let's move him down to B.
I'd feel a lot better if we did, frankly.
Okay, but I think the Victor picture again is a combination of factors, not just Victor Oladipo. I'm not really scared of Victor Oladipo. I just think the collection of talent is increasing.
Represents the team to a certain extent. Yeah.
We're the team that represented the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals last year. Anyways, thank you all for listening.
We're out. Wow, look at that.
If you want to hear more podcasts about basketball and baseball and hockey and NFL, check out the Athletic Podcast Network. There are so many great podcasts in the Athletic Podcast Network. Thank you all for listening. Go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts.
They got hockey podcasts.
They got hockey podcasts.
He's a co-op.
Tommy.
He's a co-op.
Tommy.
He's a co-op.
He's a co-op.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks, everybody. At BK Glue Guys. Sorry. Nets Daily. Join the Discord. Smush the follow. Smash the like. In the YouTube. Wherever you go. Playoffs.